Professor, thank you so much for your time. Has this been building for you, that you realized what was going to happen in this first round? Because it's not a surprise, but how long has it been building in France?
Well, I think it's been building for a long time, and I was absolutely shocked when Macron announced the dissolution on June the 9th, because this is something that's been building up ahead of steam, and to give it's just a massive own goal to give the far right, the National Rally, the opportunity not just to vote in a protest election, the European elections, as Peter said, a legislative election in which to really build on their success was just a catastrophic decision.
And how do you see the horse trading going in terms of the interests of those who want to keep the far right out, and where those interests coalesce? So I think what we're looking here, Paul, isn't it? We're looking at that newly formed leftist alliance and the Ensemble alliance, which includes the president's party.
Yes, I mean, it's the problem for a lot of centrists is the presence of Jean-Luc Mélenchon in the Left Alliance and the far left, and they're very uncomfortable with Mélenchon, with his party France Unbowed, La France Insoumise, and some of its posturing, particularly its social policies, but also attitudes to international politics, but also for some on the left, supporting a Macronist candidate. Particularly in a triangular, or backing out of a triangular vote would be very difficult. Last night, Mélenchon said that we would, when I say we, that he would back the idea of supporting a Macronist, but there are a lot of left-wing voters who would find that very difficult. And we've already seen that on the other side of the argument, Bruno Le Maire, the finance minister, François Bayrou, the leader of Modem, one of the pro-Macron parties, is my candidate. So this is straightforward. Once upon a time, we used to have the idea of the Republic having no enemies on the left, but that's a very old slogan that seems to have gone out of the window for a lot of moderate politicians. So it's by no means Sunday's result.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit, Paul, but we'll continue. Let's hope that the line remains. I mean, without asking you to deliver a lecture of 1 hour to your undergraduates, what are the big changes that will come if the National Rally gets a majority, and what might the effect be of President Macron having to appoint Jordan Bardella, the president of the National Rally, if they don't hold a majority? In other words, what's happening with a majority or a cohabitation, as they call it?
Well, the cohabitation is Bardella and Macron sharing power. But then you have the question of the size of the majority. And Bardella has said that he would not accept the responsibility if he doesn't have an absolute majority. That's his way of trying to galvanize his supporters, but also moderates in the Republican movement, Les Républicains, to rally to him. They might see him as being a more natural prime minister. So we're getting into the situation now. Once we get past the election next Sunday, then there are all sorts of questions about how that relationship would work. And although France has had cohabitations in the past, the relationships have been reasonably smooth. This does not look like being a straightforward relationship. And if the National Rally doesn't get an absolute majority, then we're into a quite prolonged political crisis, I think.
Whether they get into power with a majority or not, do you see the National Rally driving the far right's agenda across the European Union because of the influence of French politics on the bloc?
Yes, I think that's going to be quite interesting. The relationship with Meloni's Italy, it's a slightly different set of organisations. The seats in the European Parliament is a different setup. If Bardella isn't in government, then it wouldn't be quite the same thing. But if Bardella is in government and the various ministers of his administration are in the individual meetings of ministers, I'm not talking about the head of state right meeting, because that obviously will be Macron. But that is going to change the balance. If he does become prime minister, that changes the balance of power considerably in Europe on a day-to-day basis, but also with the headline issues such as policy towards Ukraine, relations with Germany, and so on. So it does, France is okay. It's only one of nearly 30 countries, but it's still a very big player, and this is significant.
Paul Smith, really appreciate the analysis. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.